Where's our Xbox?
Where's the Xbox? Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Lex.
I'm Jason from PDQ.com.
We're going to take you through some best practices. I will definitely show you some worst practices.
Practices.
All right, and the shoe fits, but and then just some things to performance tune and get the most out of your PDQ deploy inventory.
Yeah.
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 Okay, let's do this. I always like to start before you start messing with stuff. It's always good to get a backup. So, guys, let's go back up. Show you where to back up your database if you don't already know. It's under Options.
And real quick, guys, just so you're aware, we have these both in central server mode.
It does make a difference to him. Anyway, no, it's good stuff. So if you go to database,
It's going to be like that, huh?
That's how it's going down today.
Okay. All right.
Just make sure, guys, when you're doing your backups, best practice in this case is get it off the machine. I mean, right now it's writing to the C drive on this machine, so if the hard drive does go...
Yeah, I mean, really, the best practice is obviously to keep a backup so you can restore it. It's a pretty easy process. And back up your repository and deploy.
Absolutely. And guys, do this before you start tweaking, okay? Okay.
Tweaking.
Tweaking the settings, all right?
What else do we want to talk about?
Not drugs. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about getting machines into your system. And a lot of this, we're also going to talk about automating stuff, so it obviously takes work off your plate.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, we got a couple different ways to add computers, but you want to automate this.
Absolutely.
You want this to match up. So most users that we have they have AD environments. There are obviously some that have local computers, stuff like that. But so what we're looking at is the Active Directory settings. We do not have auto sync enabled, so let's go ahead and do that.
And apparently I set that one up. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I was waiting for that comment.
Yes.
I beat you to it.
You just took away my thunder.
Stole it.
Okay, and really this is a read-only from Active Directory, so it's not going to affect Active Directory no matter what you change in the console.
I would say this, depending on how often you're adding and removing machines, it would be how often you want to sync it. Here, our lab is fairly static, so maybe once a week is enough for us, but right now, auto sync is enabled every hour, which is kind of aggressive, I think.
And let's talk about the delete modes. Okay. So basically, I've got 3 delete modes. This really depends on your environment, what you have in Active Directory, or if you have other things you've added through, let's say a network discovery, or added them manually. So if you have other devices other than Active Directory, you're going to want to do a mixed sync, most likely. If you do import only, you're basically going to bring everything in, and then it's never going to change. It's going to be static.
Have to maintain it
unless you add more computers to Active Directory, you'll add those. So full sync is what most people have set up. Basically mirroring Active Directory as closely as possible. So now, as far as the containers go, this is kind of a cool thing. When you do include container, what's also nice here is if you have multiple sets of credentials for different containers.
Or different domains in this case.
Right. It'll actually inherit those credentials. So when you add those and you go through the process, it'll actually allow you to set the credentials for those computers.
So you could actually go here and add a domain, add credentials for that, which we'll show you in a minute. And then the nice thing, again, like Hank said, is every machine that comes in, if it got added with these credentials, it can retain those credentials for you, so you in the future, takes care of itself.
Exactly. What about credentials in general?
Credentials in general? Should we just jump into credentials?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the background service account.
Okay. So options.
First, so let's cover all of it.
We're going to cover it all. Do you want to do background service first?
Nope, that's you.
Okay. So here's the thing about your background service, and the reason we bring this up with credentials is because there's a couple different styles of credentials, obviously. The background service is what is going to run when you close the console down, when you do your deployments and that kind of thing. Unless you set it differently, it's going to use the background service credentials to do that.
Right.
Okay. It is highly advised that you match your deploy background service with your inventory background service. Yeah. It alleviates some problems.
Well, it helps with the communication between the two products. Is really what it boils down to. And we're going to talk about console users in a couple minutes, but the reason that that's important is background service user account, you want to make sure that password's secure, because anybody who can get onto the server where this is installed and has that password can add themselves as a console user. Well, and basically, so if you're trying to lock everything down, you want to make sure that only console users can get access, not anybody who has that password.
Okay.
So that makes sense.
I do like that. It is very true. Under credentials,
I keep you off my stuff.
That is how you keep me off your machine?
Yes.
Well, you need to lock your machine then, because every time I go in there and you have David Hasselhoff as the background.
The Hoff? What's wrong with the Hoff?
Absolutely.
All I can think of is... Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so the other thing on credentials here, if you wanted to add a local, at the very minimum, guys, you need to have local admin rights. And to add those, because I'm not allowed to touch the keyboard, he's going to do it. Make sure you clear out your domain. Then you put your local admin username.
It says it right here. Wait, how do we do the underline? I want to try and do it straight.
You're going to try and do the underline?
Yeah. What key?
That one?
Whoa, that was pretty underlined. How do you undo it?
Do that in the space and it's gone. Cool. All right. So leave it blank. You put your local admin. Log in there and your password. Are you going to do it? Right. I'm not allowed to touch the keyboard. They told me because all I can type is swear words. I am not allowed to touch the keyboard. This is not. Yeah. Okay. At any rate, password that. Make sure you put your description on there because you could have multiple work groups with different.
Right.
So make sure you do that. I am.
And you can also test the credentials against the computers that you're
absolutely.
So,
and then finally, you can add laps here, guys. We've got lots of videos on adding laps. It's a great feature.
That's Microsoft's local account password solution. So essentially, one admin account on each machine, all named the same with different passwords.
Yep.
And it's managed by AD. So,
anywho,
cool.
Before we step into console users, do we have any questions? No questions?
No questions.
Come on, guys,
What
throw
the
down.
heck?
This is going to go fast if you don't give us any questions. Console users. Let's talk about those.
Let's take a look at that in deploy.
Okay. Should we jump over to deploy?
Sure.
You need them in both inventory and deploy, especially when you're in central server mode, obviously. Options, console users. Now, here's the thing about this, right? Again, we were talking about that background service, and that's what you're using to do the deployments, unless, and we'll talk about using inventory credentials. But if you add somebody in here, let's say we go and add, right now, Web Quintana, let's go add, just put Quintana in for now, I guess. If you add that, that's their domain, okay? Like that, you need to know the background service password or have access to the machine to do
Right, you need to be added here. So if you are a single admin, multiple admin, whatever, you can use central server mode. That's a feature in our product. No license needed for it. Essentially just turn...
Oh, one license per admin. There is a license needed.
Trust me, I am the license guy. I know. I know.
All right.
But you do not need a license for the central server console.
That portion of it.
So you can put this on a server, put it in central server mode, install the products locally on your machine, and put them in client mode and connect back to that central server.
So, okay, I do this myself, and the reason I do it, and this, guys, this is a good thing because if you put it on a server generally has more network connections available.
Yep.
Generally, you're putting it on a little faster disk, and fast disk always helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Less bottleneck.
So, and the nice thing about this, it's running up on the server. If I want to remote into it, I can. That's the old way to do it. The good way is you load the client console and run it from my laptop,
right,
wherever I happen to be in the office. So I can deploy that Jason Loves ABBA song that plays in the background anytime I feel like it.
I don't know why you think that's an insult.
It so is. Dude, just
Unless you recorded it.
Embrace the insult. But that's how, okay, I like it that way personally because, again, I've got it running on a server and then I can run it without using remote desktop to the machine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you do that?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So would you say that's probably a...
Best practice?
Probably. Well, it's definitely...
Worst practice is remoting into the server nonstop,
doing it
especially if you've got multiple admins. The great thing about central server mode is it allows you to share packages, collections, everything, you know, all in one place.
Absolutely.
What do you want to talk about next?
Let us take a question.
I'd love a question.
Dear Lex and Jason, can multiple admin accounts be used for scanning deployments for domain and non-domain PCs? Sincerely, Jorlando D.
Absolutely.
That is
what
a great segue. Thank
you. we were actually talking about that a little bit when you were talking about adding computers to the console. So let's say Guinness had a different password.
Right click on it. Let's go show the scan user on that one.
Yep. So I can actually go here and say select scan user and choose different credentials that are going to be assigned to that computer.
When it's added, this is where that gets recorded or entered. Now, if we had a local admin password, I think we might. We could actually go and select and change this in this case. But the nice thing is the admin login and password is maintained here in inventory.
Right, because computers live here. You can actually set credentials here.
They live there.
There's
a house, and they're in
the house.
All right. So
they're in the hizzle.
All right, so you want to deploy using these scan credentials. The good thing is it's going to use the scan credentials that when you add the machine, they're there. You can actually, let's go deploy 7-zip.
Now that's for scanning.
That's for scanning.
So for deploying, we have to do a little bit different.
Okay.
So if we say 7-zip, and I say deploy once, and I can do this from a schedule.
Oh, we're going to
As
show
well.
on the schedule too.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, you have an option here to use inventory scan user credentials. So now you can do a deployment to any machine in your inventory console and have it use the inventory credentials that you've set, including laps. Everything.
Absolutely. The other thing is if you got multiple domains, you didn't have to send, I'm sending out to PDQ1 domain. I will do another deployment to PDQ2 domain, grabbing the credentials.
Right.
You just say use the inventory ones, takes care of it for you.
Absolutely.
Well, let's just pop the schedule up because, you know, I hate to say this. I learned something new today. You can actually use those credentials in schedules too, which I don't know why this is.
I'm just going to right click and say
today.
new schedule. And well, I know why, because it's.
Yeah, under options.
You want to go there, straight there. Okay?
Straight there, man.
Yeah, you can use inventory credentials right there in your schedules.
I would suggest it because at this point, all you have to do is maintain the inventory credentials in you.
Do you want to talk about the rest of the options while we're here?
Would love to.
Excellent.
More than anything.
Okay, so the other things that cover, and a lot of these are the same as the deploy once window.
Oh, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like if you just right click on a package, deploy once. So really what we're able to do on each individual schedule is set the copy mode, how it's going to scan. So in this case, I've got push versus pull. So what is push versus pull?
Okay, obviously push, the default is push. Now, yeah, I was waiting for that one. That basically means it's going to, wherever that resides, it's going to send it from the console. So if it's on a file share, it'll copy from the file share to the console and push out from the console. That being said, if you do have it on a file share, it's better to do a pull. Because what you end up doing is you send down from the console, watch, here's the console, it goes down to the end user. He now has the instructions to go grab it from the file server.
Yeah, basically everything is coming with a push from the console machine. If you're doing a pull, it's going to do the package definition and let the files be pulled from whatever DFS or PowerShell solution you've got.
Definitely, if you're on a file share, use pull. If you're using DFS, use pull. If everything resides on your console, push works.
Yeah, and you can change these globally, not just on a schedule. So you just have to determine how your environment's set up and so forth.
Absolutely. Can I actually get into that right now?
No.
Oh, I can. Look at that.
Well, that means you're touching the mouse.
I can touch the mouse. It's the keyboard I can't touch. Deployments, push and pull.
We can talk about that too.
What should we do that? Let me
Let's
go
do
back
performance.
to performance here. There's the push and pull right there, the copy mode, okay?
So that's the global.
That's the global setting.
Yeah. Let's finish up on the schedule real quick.
I'm just, come on, squirrel.
Squirrel. Okay, scanning.
Okay.
So in this case, we're deploying 7-zip,
Okay.
the schedule. And obviously,
Which is an application.
and obviously we haven't named this schedule, which we should do, but we're just talking about the options here. So scanning. Scan after deployment usually is set for the standard scan. And we're going to go into scan profiles in a minute. What we're actually going to do here is set a different scanner that's a little bit lighter, doesn't run as many different scan profiles.
Again, here's that performance thing.
Right.
You know, if you don't have to go pull what kind of memory it has, because odds are the memory hasn't changed.
Right.
Do the bare minimum you need to at this point.
Right. So, and we'll touch back on that in a few minutes. You want to go right into the preferences then?
Yeah, let's just jump into the preferences and
I'll let you.
You're
take
gonna
a look. You want to tell me about concurrent targets?
Okay, concurrent targets. I set this the other day. Let's talk about worst practices. So concurrent targets per deployment. The explanation on that is, okay, let's say I'm going to send out Chrome and I'm going to send out Firefox.
Yeah.
Total targets per deployment is Chrome's a deployment, Firefox is a deployment, right? Every time I deploy something, it's deployment.
Yeah.
I can do up to, in this case, 4. Now, my suggestion to you, if you want to get really, really great performance out of this, you set both of those to 1. Okay?
That's the worst practice.
Especially. Yeah, okay, don't do that. It's the reason this is set the way it was, I did a video and we were showing the prioritization of stuff, but
I think the default is 8 and
32. Okay? So
someone's going to take you seriously.
that's why
honestly,
I said
how
worst
can
practice.
anybody take me seriously? I mean,
Throw a little asterisk on what Lex just said.
asterisks, air quotes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now, the best practice on the, to be real, guys, don't do the 1-in-1. That's bad juju.
Where would you lower the concurrent targets down that low.
Where would I do it?
Yeah, why would you do it?
I can't think of an instance where I would do it other than they show something.
Yeah. I mean, if you have really low latency and you're not using DFS, I can see...
Okay, so this comes into the whole swag thing. So
Right.
let me finish concurrent targets and total concurrent targets. So concurrent targets, right, I can do, at this point, 8 Chrome, I can do 8 Firefox.
At the same time?
Until I hit my total concurrent targets of 32.
Yeah.
Which means 8, 8, 8, 8. If I did my math correctly, I can do 4 different deployments.
I did that so you could do it on one hand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, I've worked with some customers who have really large environments, and we have run that up and we have run it down.
Right.
So far, 10,000 plus end nodes. The sweet spot, surprisingly, is like 16 and 64. Seems to be the sweet spot.
What?
That's what I found in that environment with their network, the latency, the things they were going. Excess of 10,000, 16 and 64.
Yeah.
It seemed to work out well. Again, this is where that swag, the scientific wild guess.
No, you're having to think.
That guess, yeah.
Thought I smelled smoke.
The wild guess. That's where you're going to swag it. So this is one of those things you might ratchet up and down depending on, obviously, many of the things in your network. So
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Do I? No, you want to talk about it.
Well,
of course I want to talk about
We're going to go back to the inventory version of this, but right here we have, look how straight that line is. Test multiple addresses.
You've
in
been
the
drinking,
resolution.
haven't you?
I have. I did not pass the test. So essentially this option here is if you have a lot of laptops that are roaming.
Oh, that's right.
Maybe coming off a dock, going back and forth between buildings.
Wireless.
It's basically going to keep track of all the addresses that report in for that machine and then ping them all. And the first one that responds is going to be the
gonna
one
run
that
with
tries.
that.
Yep.
Okay.
Wins.
We would love to take a question.
Dear Lex and Jason,
Oh, I love these.
licensing question. If I set up different instances per geographic regions, do I need more than one if I'm the only user? Sincerely, Anonymous.
I like that.
Hi, Anonymous.
Paul. That's good. Okay.
No,
So I am the only user.
I don't. Okay.
If that's the case,
I'm-
what?
We license per administrator.
That's right.
Not per installation, not per location, not how many servers.
Here comes the toothbrush thing. All right, I'm ready for this.
I'm not even going to throw it out there.
Do it. It's your favorite thing. Do it. Come on.
It's
toothbrush.
like a toothbrush. You wouldn't share one. So, one license per admin.
Yeah. So you can install it in multiple geographic locations.
Yeah.
You can install it in multiple sites as long as you're the one using it. One.
Yeah, we have a lot of MSPs that do that.
Yeah. Very
Where they'll
simple.
have to install at different sites because of the lack of trust.
Jordan lifted his eyebrows. Do you have a comment there? I want more than one syllable.
That was purely incidental eyebrow raise.
Oh, okay.
I was agreeing with the sentiment.
I think he's never heard the toothbrush analogy and was just intrigued.
It was deep, and I've been moved.
My favorite though is he used the toothbrush analogy, and someone said, "But we're brushing the same teeth." I'm like, ugh. No.
Anyway,
Put those dentures away, buddy.
exactly.
All right, now I'm derailed.
Yeah, well, you've been derailed. This is.
That's a good point.
Let's talk
let's
about
deployments. Let's go to deployments. What?
I'm just waiting. I'm just trying to right the train.
Right, these get us back on track.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Here again, we were talking about what scans run after you do deployments. Okay. Again, the default is standard scan profile. Okay. We're going to set that the applications because once again, I don't care about the memory necessarily when I do an application install. I just want the applications.
Exactly.
Now, the other thing that'll help speed things up, guys, right here, ping before deployment.
And why does that help?
Why?
Because
Why would that help?
rather than start a deployment or a
Just
scan
launch
on a
one.
machine and like waiting for it to time out, we're basically saying ping it. If you can't touch it,
Yep.
pull back, say offline settings.
Roll with it. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, since we're here,
Oh, it's time for a best practice, worst practice.
the worst
example.
practice example. All right, so a little story. I was working with a customer, and they're like, "Hey, my security team calls me up, and there's some like network blast of port scans and all kinds of stuff coming from my console. What's going on?" Well, I had come to find out. We logged in, and he had set Wake On Lan, and he also had his retry queue. So what was happening was about half his machines were offline.
Yep.
And so every hour it would try to wake them up, which again, it's a broadcast coming from the machine,
Yeah.
right? And then he tried to
He basically had this all set up, and it was just over and over.
Slamming his network.
Let's talk about what the retry queue is.
Okay.
If you don't have inventory, you just have deploy, trying to get something out. Instead of setting up a very aggressive schedule like every hour, you can say, hey, take any machines that are offline and have them restart a new deployment with those offline machines. And I believe the settings here are every hour for up to 3 days.
For 72 tries, which if you do the math, 3 days.
Yeah. So, and you can change that, but again, it's just deployment after deployment after deployment.
I just want to say this, okay? A couple things, don't Wake On Lan that if you're going to do that, okay?
Can I give you another worst practice?
Absolutely.
I
Throw it down.
actually worked with a customer who did a well.
And these are honest mistakes, guys. These are absolutely honest mistakes.
I've actually almost done this one. In PDQ Deploy, you can create a package that's a shutdown package. So I worked in an elementary school, and so I wanted to shut down student computers, lab computers, save power, right? Big push to save power. So I'd create a schedule, and you do a deploy package for a shutdown. No, that was
Do you heartbeat that as soon as it comes online, it shuts it down? That's it.
no. That is another worst case.
Don't do that, and don't do reboots on our schedule.
But what somebody actually did is they went in here and they said, send Wake On Lan.
Oh, and they shut them down.
And so what it would do is you'd have a lab that was completely shut down, and it would spend whatever time trying to wake them up to shut them down. So,
All right, okay. That's a good one. Let's just go back to the one I just did, which is the triggers. Things not to do. Shut machines down on a heartbeat schedule, unless you're messing with somebody.
yeah.
You ever noticed your machine shuts down as soon as you get in here?
No.
Anyway, it's not me. It's Jordan. And then the other thing is reboot schedules that are on a heartbeat or a Wake On Lan. Yeah, those don't do those, guys. I mean, it's fun to do to people you don't like.
Well, and the important
I'm looking at you, people you don't like.
I know. The important message here is that there are global settings.
Absolutely.
And then there are per schedule, per package.
Yeah, exactly.
Settings. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, so once again, back to preferences and that. Understand what the retry queue is before you use it. It's kind of a brute force method. It is more eloquent. I was trying to put those two words. That's a mashup of words.
Eloquent? Yeah, no.
What he said. I just hear laughing in the ear here. Like,
That's all I hear too.
use inventory in the heartbeat schedule because machine will come on. Once it verifies it's on, it'll check in. I'm like, oh, I was supposed to get Chrome and 7-zip and Jason's reboot machine.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop back over to performance. One of the newer features in our product that we were talking about, not being able to deploy if you met this total concurrent targets.
That's right.
We do have the new feature of prioritize. So you can right-click on a machine and prioritize a scan, prioritize a deployment. So if you got your boss walks in and says, I've got to have this right now, and you've got all these schedules running, go right-click on that, prioritize it.
Boom, send it out. And it will exceed the total concurrent targets per deployment, but it cannot exceed total concurrent targets.
Correct.
So basically what he's saying is anytime I need something, my stuff goes to the top.
Yeah, and you talked about the repository location. So we talked about backing up the database, backing up the repository. This is another, if you put it on a file share, it's backed up.
Well, yeah, if you're already backing the file share up, why not put it out there and so you don't have to have another backup routine grabbing it locally. So
absolutely. Let's take a look at inventory preferences.
Inventory?
Do I want to save those changes? I'm going to say no.
No. You like the settings I did?
I love the settings you have. They're great. Oops.
All right, so let's tune and test inventory. We'll just do the tuning part. The testing comes later. Hey, I raced for years, man. Tune and test.
Okay.
All right.
So let's look at network panel.
Networking, absolutely. Heartbeats. What is a heartbeat?
Are you asking, or are you?
How would you use?
Is this a hypothetical?
No, this is okay. Heartbeat schedule.
So basically,
do you have a heartbeat?
No.
Okay.
I'm dead. So essentially what a heartbeat does is this is a ping that is going through, cycling through all your machines. So in this case, you have to be aware of how many machines you have in your console. If you have 10,000, this is not going to finish trying to ping those first machines as it goes through before it starts again.
Yeah. So be aware of that, guys. Once again,
it's very lightweight.
Swag that up.
Yeah.
And
then we have the test multiple addresses. Straight line again.
You're not driving after this, I hope.
No.
Hey, I love this. PDQ deploy in inventory.
What?
Yeah, I love that. Okay, bring this up, guys. just because cleaning up old deployments, it's a great thing to keep the history of what's going on. It's just like, who cares about, somebody deploying something a year ago?
Right.
I need to know now. So the thing about it, in regards to performance, right? If your database gets really, really big, it becomes cumbersome. So trim it, prune it, you know what I mean?
Well, and the idea here is that you have auditing capability to a point.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's integration between the products. Every time you do a deployment, it keeps a record of that on PDQ Inventory.
And this is where it would show up right where it
That's not
says
centered.
deployments.
You did really good on
I
that
did.
one.
Hey, I really did a bad job on that. I'm blaming.
Close enough.
It's Jordan's fault this time.
Yeah. The other nice thing,
Accept
we're
that.
in central server mode, multiple admins. You also have your deploy user, the console it came from, and the console credentials.
Yep.
Which is great.
Great
Because then you
history
can
there.
find out who rebooted the server and said, it wasn't me.
Who sent that Wake On Lan with the shutdown?
That's right.
Hey, sorry. You really did that? Wake On Lan and shut everybody down?
No.
Okay.
I said I worked with somebody. who did
Oh, okay.
that. Yeah. They were trying to figure out why everything was booting up, and they were blaming PDQ, and that was back when I was a sysadmin. So
Okay. Okay, performance tab. Okay, guys. Computer scan timeout 10 minutes. So far, I haven't really seen globally why you would change this. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong.
there's a couple places. By default, most of the time it should work fine. If you start seeing WMI timeouts, latency issues, that's where you would change that value.
I would change the WMI timeout here, but
Well, that's what I meant.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, the rest of them are fine unless you're seeing issues.
If you're seeing timeouts, you may want to check what you're actually scanning. In fact, we'll go into some scanners here in a second.
Yeah.
But concurrent scans 32, again, biggest environment I've worked with. Again, the sweet spot was between 32 and 64. 64 happened to work. I like it in groups of 8,
Yeah.
just because it seems very bit binary kind of.
Going to throw any more B words out?
Because. Anyway,
There you go.
Scanning.
okay. Always ping before a scan, guys.
Yeah. Same as
Speed
deploy.
things up. Same as deploying.
Yeah. So just like deploy, on each record there is a log of all the different scans, where they initiated, why they initiated, so that you can go back and check that out as well.
Yep. Clean those guys up. Keep that database clean. Let's take a question.
Oh, I'd like that.
Yeah, let's do a speed round. What do you say?
Okay.
Dear Lex and Jason, when would one want to use different scan user credentials from your service/deployment credentials? Sincerely, Matthew D.
Hey, Matt. I would say. You like, hello, Matt.
We were just going to stay paused.
Pause. There's that silent error for Kelly. Hey, okay. The way, if you are, let's say you set up your console in one domain and you're scanning or deploying in a different domain with different credentials. You set it up with domain admin credentials and you wanted to do a workgroup machine, so you had different credentials there. You think of some other ones?
If you have multiple sets of admin credentials on different local machines or even domain joined machines that you want to use security-wise, so somebody gets one password and they think they've ruled the world and they can't get into the next machine.
Jordan, any thoughts?
Well, I'm not a fan of using what's running for your service credentials for any of your deployments or scanning. You want to keep those separated, I think. But I've never really had a problem using the inventory credentials for all my deployments. But I've never been in an environment where they've locked it down to where the permissions might be different. So I guess it depends on the environment.
Sure.
Absolutely. Okay, next question, yeah?
Dear Lex and Jason, how do you fix the issue of PDQ Inventory pulling info from the wrong computer due to a new computer taking that IP? Thanks, David S.
Sounds like a DNS
Okay, well,
issue.
yeah, it's definitely a DNS issue, but normally you would get a target name mismatch on that, so you shouldn't get information from the different computer.
Yeah.
So
Is it using the same? I'm trying to figure that out.
I would say you should be getting an error saying target name mismatch. 1. 2, DNS, happy, healthy DNS, great video.
Yeah.
Brig is so good at breaking that down.
Absolutely.
I would take a look at your DNS. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have another one?
Dear Lex and Jason, not really related to today's webcast, but I would like information on scheduling Wake On Lan. Thanks, Frank H.
I actually talked about this yesterday,
Yes, you
didn't I?
did, yeah. We've got some blogs on Wake On Lan now. A couple of things. Are you going to look up the blog?
No.
Okay. It's out in our blogs. I'm going to say a couple of things you need to make sure. There's some places you have to have your NIC set up for Wake On Lan. You have to have your BIOS set up for Wake On Lan. You have to have your firewall not blocking broadcast for Wake On Lan. So there's a lot of footwork before you can use Wake On
Will you
Lan.
pop the question back up, please? I think what he's asking, though, is how can he schedule Wake On Lan? Like, I'm coming in the morning, I want to wake all the student computers up. I want to wake all these computers up and have them ready.
Oh, okay. So
I think
let's show that. Okay.
If that's the way I read
That's
it.
a good point.
But essentially, you could just create a new package and then schedule it.
Yeah.
And when you create that schedule with the package attached, you could set it however often you want it to run. And then on the, don't touch my screen.
Don't be touching.
And then you can come in here and you could say, where are you going to say Wake On Lan?
Not from that place.
Okay.
Gosh, why would you say that? I tried to hit offline settings.
So you could send Wake On Lan.
You can set that at a deployment level. You can set it at a scheduling level. So
Yeah.
once you've got all that set up, boom, boom. That's where you do it.
Absolutely.
Don't let him run the mouse, though.
Whatever, dude. You
Cheap
just
shot.
shot.
It's a cheap shot. I got to take it.
Dear Lex and Jason, so if the scan/deploy credentials fail, will it fall back to another account, or do you need to manually pick? Thanks, Jorlando D.
If you're using the inventory ones first and they fail, it will fall back. If you look, it falls back to your background service. Mm-hmm. So if those don't work, you got bigger problems.
Yeah,
You need to make sure that you've got right passwords in for the credentials on that machine. Or once again, you can right-click and go look at which scan credentials are on that.
and you can multi-click machines and say select scan user.
I see how you are. Efficient. Hence the performance. Okay, what else we got before I have to elbow him some more?
I don't know. We want to talk about scan profile? Oh,
No, it's speed round.
Yeah,
baby.
we're going to give you our final speed round question. Dear Lex and Jason, how much do unused deployment packages impact performance? Sincerely, Rockin' Rodney H.
unused. Oh, so basically things lingering in the console that you're not using anymore?
Short of disk space, performance-wise,
If they're not scheduled and not running, then it's not really performing
Yeah.
or doing anything. So
It's kind of like having that extra towel in your bathroom. It just hangs there. It's not being used. That's the first thing I thought of. But it works. You understand where it's at, right?
I do.
Okay. So that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, we've hopefully we've shown you some worst practices that you'll never ever do.
And
And if you do, blame him, not me. And then there's some best practices, which
Yeah, like the one concurrent.
I will be happy to take credit for all the best practices that we're.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'm Lex.
I'm Jason from PDQ.com.
Get you later.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Matthew D. and Rodney H., winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to our fine support peeps. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.